of hell and despair. The cold breeze from the open window woke Rhea up from her slumber. She was naturally a light sleeper, but tonight was different. She had had a long day shuffling between shifts at the family diner where she worked. She blinked for a couple of minutes before sighing tiredly in the realization that she had forgotten to shut the windows and the raindrops were making their way into the room. She wasn't feeling the whole idea of getting up to shut the window, so she decided to ignore the plan and instead cover herself with the duvet. The phone beside her rang loudly, making her groan in irritation. She checked the phone and almost screamed in frustration when she saw it was a private number. She ignored it and tried to go back to sleep. No sooner had she drifted off to sleep was there a knock on her door. She ignored the knock and continued to sleep. The knocks became incessant, but she was determined to ignore them, and almost immediately, the knocks stopped. She heaved a sigh of relief and continued her sleep. The cool breeze came again, but this time, it brought some sort of comfort to her, and she was grateful for it. A warm liquid trickled down her face, making her stir in response. She snuggled deeper into the covers and wiped the liquid off absent-mindedly. Her soft snores filled the room, creating a seamlessly sweet pattern. She felt the warm liquid trickle down her face again, but this time, it was hotter and more intense than the other had been. She opened her eyes in alarm, unsure of what was happening. A flash of the lightning outside was just enough light for her to see that the liquid was crimson red, almost like blood, but she wasn't sure if it was. She gasped in surprise and tried to sit up, but was shocked that she could not move. It felt like some invisible weight was wearing her down and preventing her from doing so. She felt a hand touch her face and immediately she panicked. She opened her eyes widely, scanning the room desperately, trying to understand what was happening. When her eyes adjusted to the darkness, she saw a figure on top of her. She blinked once and again took a deep breath, hoping to let out a piercing scream, but nothing came out. The lightning flashed again. Helping her to see the figure atop her was a scrawny-looking old woman with an oddly shaped nose. The woman's eyes were red and her teeth were rotten, and dripping from them was a thick liquid that she would later realize to be blood. The witch stared down at her, grinning maliciously. For a moment, Rhea was confused as to how and when the woman came into the room. Just then, the cold breeze blew again, making her shiver in fear. The woman cackled loudly when she saw the expression on the poor girl's face. Rhea tried to shake herself free from the woman's surprisingly tight grip, but her body lay there like a log of wood. The woman began hitting her face with her palms, laughing as she did so. For a woman looking as frail as she was, it was surprising how she was able to inflict so much pain on the youngster without even trying. Rhea couldn't avoid the slaps, and even if she wanted to, there was no way she could push the woman off her. She couldn't call for help as her mouth had refused to cooperate with her brain to say something. She could only watch as the woman kept inflicting so much pain on her without mercy, making her wonder what exactly was happening. She had heard tales of people who had been attacked in their sleep, but none had prepared her for the horrors she was experiencing at the moment. The blood from the woman's mouth dribbled down Rhea's face and into her mouth, making her gag silently. The woman's long and dirty nails made Rhea's skin crawl in disgust. She stared at the woman in helplessness, only momentarily remembering that she was not alone in the house. All she could hope for at the moment was her roommate walking in on them. Maybe she would be free. The approaching footsteps at the door began giving her a tiny flicker of hope.
No one can save you from me,
the woman wheezed, sneering at her with a foul expression on her face. Rhea, are you sleeping? Her roommate, Tina's voice boomed from across the hall, making Rhea's heart beat fast with relief. She wanted to shout the other girl's name, but her mouth wouldn't move. The witch glared at the door before turning back at Rhea, pressing her neck as if to kill her. Rhea could feel her eyes bulge in alarm, and before she could react, the door flew open, making the woman disappear into thin air. The poor girl gasped in relief, sitting up immediately, holding her neck in surprise. "Girl, you okay? You look pale like you seen a ghost." Her roommate stared at her with raised brows. Rhea stared into the distance, still holding her neck. The scars on her body have miraculously disappeared, but she could still feel the pain all over her face. "You have no idea," she muttered, getting up from the bed.
Subscribe today or beware.